Hey folks, it's Nick Granville. So today I thought I'd talk about what I call the 4Ts, and this is something I've been teaching for a long time. So the 4Ts are timing, tone, taste, and technique. And these are the four things I think make a great player. And I'll kind of discuss each of them a little bit. So timing, what do I mean by that? Your sense of rhythm, right? You can play a bunch of wrong notes and they still sound right if you have good rhythm, right? I mean, here's a blues. I'm just going to play a blues. I'm just going to play a whole lot of chromatic nothing. So there I think I played every note within that area, and yet I think because I played it with a certain type of feeling about it, it still works, right? And that's the thing with rhythm. If you play with a good sense of rhythm, anything works, right? I've heard people play a crappy guitar tone that's a good example of this is that solo from Hello, Lionel Richie, right? I think that's the name of the tune. It's like the worst guitar sound you've ever heard. It sounds DI or something, but it works because it's played rhythmically really accurate and with beautiful taste and all the rest of the things I'll talk about. So rhythm is number one. So my number one focus when I practice is always rhythm. I'm always looking at it. I'm always like trying to make it better. So I practice with a metronome every day. I play along to tracks every day. I use Drum Genius. If you don't know that app, it's a really good one. It's Drum Genius. I play with great drummers. I'm really lucky like that. There's a couple of guys in town who are really badass players, and I get to play with them often. And every time it's an education, and so that's great. So timing, number one. First T. Second T, tone. Right? Tone is largely down to your touch, I think. Like if I go, I'll turn that mic off. You saw there, as soon as I was picking really hard, the tone goes away. It just kind of goes, and all the notes kind of, instead of vibrating like a string normally does, it does this and whatever it does, the string kind of goes to start with and then kind of freaks out a little bit. Whereas if you lighten your touch, you get a better tone, right? Because the string can vibrate naturally. You've also got room to be more expressive with dynamics and accents, and again that makes your phrasing nicer and all those kind of things. But yeah, so like finding a middle ground. So I actually pick quite lightly. It's funny when people come and sit in on my gigs, like students or whoever, or friends, guitar playing friends, they come in, they sit in, and the first thing they do is they play a chord and they go, whoa, it's really loud, but because I'm picking quite light. Even if I'm playing like some blues. It's not that is. I realise the sound that you're hearing is not the same as necessarily what it sounds like to me, because there's a mic just here out of shot that's picking up this guitar. One thing with hollow body guitars is they're quite loud acoustically, so you'll actually hear a lot of the guitar blended with that, but this is quite a nice sound, I think. But my point there was that I'm actually picking quite light, and then I've got room to kind of play louder or softer. I've got like a nice middle ground, and I think that's one of the keys to tone. Where you play along here affects your tone, of course. What type of guitar you use, what type of strings, what type of pick. Believe it or not, your pick is probably your biggest EQ that you can use. People don't think about that, right? Different picks sound brighter, some sound darker. I've just swapped over. This is a Paul Reed Smith pick that I bought yesterday. I really dig it, actually. I really like it. I've been using Jazz 3 XLs forever. But what I've found is with the point on it, once they start wearing out, it feels completely different. And then I have to get a new pick to kind of get back to that. What I'm finding with this pick, it's kind of rounded to start with. And so it sort of stays there. I found even after like a day and it started wearing in, it still feels the same. But your pick is a big part of your tone as well. Your touch, your sense of rhythm, again, affects your tone. I've done a lot of recording sessions with people, and I've had people in my studio here who come in, and maybe they're like, I remember a saxophone player one time came in and did a session, and his timing was a little bit suspect. So what I did was I did a little bit of editing. I don't like editing too much, but I did a little bit of editing where I just kind of tidied up his rhythm a little bit and kind of got it in line with where it should be. And all of a sudden his tone was better, because now it's sort of blending with the other instruments in a way, because that's the thing, like the blend of the instruments is really important. And so, of course, when you play rhythmically a certain way, accurate or musical, is probably more important, right? Then you have a certain tone that happens because of the way it blends with the other instruments. So tone is as much about timing, your touch, all that kind of stuff. So timing, tone. The next one I'd say is taste. Like, to me, all the great players that I've ever heard, they have a great sense of what to play and when. And I think that's often overlooked. People go, play this scale, play this rhythm, play this song, play this whatever. But like knowing when to play and what to play and how to play it is kind of so crucial, I think. Like, for example, if I was to play that blues, and I say I went, right? That's just a whole lot of bullshit, right? That's not musical. That's just me playing with no particular rhythm. There's no particular groove to it. None of it makes sense. I'm not really establishing a melody. I'm not really establishing a groove or a rhythm. And I think that's a big thing with taste, is like, when do you do stuff, right? Almost every solo is good to start kind of sparse, and then you got somewhere to go. I find a lot of players, they play everything they've got right at the beginning, and then they got nowhere to go, right? And that's a taste issue, right? They haven't thought about it conceptually about how they're going to do this. And I think that's part of your taste, because that's really what people, when they're listening to you, what they're listening for is like, what's your sense of taste? Like, what's your instrument? What's your sound? Who have you listened to? They hear all those influences. They hear your own thing going on, hopefully. But I think taste is a big one, like knowing what to do and when. And a good place to get that is just go and listen to some of the recordings you really love, and kind of analyze it and go, okay, what does that person do and how are they doing it? Like Larry Carlton has a very specific kind of thing that he does. A certain, way solos build or decrease, or how many notes he plays. You never really hear him overplaying, right? It's a big one. Guitar players, we don't have to breathe. We can just put, like a saxophone player does, for example. We can just keep playing and playing and playing, like I showed in that example a minute ago. Just keep playing if I want to, but it's rubbish. Whereas, and one way around that is to sing, right? Sing the part that you're going to play as you're playing it, and you'll run out of breath, and that'll tell you when to leave gaps. And that's a good way to kind of work on being a more tasteful kind of player. And the last one is technique. Notice I put technique last. Technique is really important, but it's not the be-all and end-all. Now, when I talk about playing with technique, I'm not necessarily talking about playing fast, right? Everything everybody does is a technique. For example, if I was to go... Right, so there I'm using my thumb and my fingers. I've got my pick at the ready between those two fingers there. And that's a certain technique to play that sort of blues. It's a technique with this hand, a technique with this. Everything about it is creating a certain sound based on something technical that I'm doing. And I think all the great players have their technique figured out about how they're going to do their thing. Whether that be playing fast or playing slow or playing whatever. It's all a technique, isn't it? So that's why, for me, it's like, it's really important, but it's the fourth important thing. So yeah, so that's timing, tone, taste, and technique, in that order. So those are the things I think about when I practice a lot of the time. I think about, okay, what are the ways I can work on these 4 T's and have them inform everything I do that when I play. I hope this has been useful for you today. My name's Nick Granville. I'm a guitar player based in Wellington, New Zealand. I post on YouTube every day at the moment. So subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you tomorrow. I'm going to play out on a really great tune called Just Friends.